Well, I'm not going to show the intro again, but I displayed it once again just to do my testing and test the option and everything, because today is the day of the release. Yay! So yeah, this is me again, an Angelini with my terrible French accent for this last video on Mr. Pig. Well, for a while, because kind of as expected, even though the game is really close to my original vision, there are still details that are missing, and also the big reason I am reluctant to call this a release version is because I couldn't do a lot of playtesting. In fact, I'm a bit scared. I might, because I'm still going to release the game as promised today, but I'm a bit scared that I might release a build that has bugs. There don't seem to be obvious bugs because I did playtest it a little bit, but I didn't playtest it that much. And I'm slightly scared that there might be problems that I haven't caught yet and that might hinder your experience. And that's why I think I'm going to release the game today as a beta, because I want to keep my promise and start working on other projects that actually matter, if I dare say it that way. Because Mr. Pig has done his job teaching me, and it's also kind of pointless to work more on it, because when I started Mr. Pig, I actually made rookie mistakes because it was my first time doing a project of this scale in Unity. And those rookie mistakes keep beating me in the ass all the time. And when I start a new project, I'm not going to do those mistakes again. That's why I wanted to do Mr. Pig, because starting Victory Bell or anything else is because by doing Mr. Pig, I learned the mistakes that I should avoid in the future. So today's release, I'm going to call it a beta, but it's pretty much feature complete, and there aren't any obvious bugs. There might be some, and there are little details that are off that I wish I had time to solve, but just couldn't. It's because I worked pretty hard on it this week, but because of the responsibilities of real life and me being a human being who needs to rest, I did my best, but I couldn't reach 100% of what I hoped to do. About 98%, I guess. But those 2%, because I'm a dumb perfectionist, and also because I am scared of having missing bugs that might really break the game, I think it's safer to call this a beta. And in a few months, if any of you play the games, you play the game, you will probably have some feedback that will help me fix the most serious bugs of this game. It will probably never be perfect because, as I said, it had a bad foundation. That was a foundation built from inexperience. But being less inexperienced was the whole point of this project. And that's why it was good that I spent a month and a half on this, instead of making projects that I care more about and that you care more about. Because by making the mistakes on Mr. Pig, I learn what I shouldn't do for my next project. Of course, Mr. Pig is not a complete train wreck, it still mostly works, but there are a bunch of things that might be very hard to debug, and that would be easier to debug if the game was better built from the beginning with a better foundation. But anyways, you can see that the tutorial screen had completely changed. Now you can see all the control schemes. The control schemes, there are 3 of them. They can be customized, but you can freely choose between those 3. In the option menu, you can also set so that the up key of the movement allows you to jump, and that the down key allows you to do push-ups. It's a bit hard to use the keyboard control without that, at least that's my opinion. But the game is based on the gamepad anyway. You also have this little test that explains that the gamepad may not work for the menus, the menus outside of gameplay, but it does work for the gameplay. So yeah, as I said last week, this game is not to professional and commercial standards. I'm fully aware of it. It's clearly a practice project, but it also was the point. But anyways, I'm going to start again because they're going to be less boring to stare at while I struggle with the English language as usual. So as you can see, the dollar bills also don't have fancier animations. That's one of those little things that I just couldn't find the time to do. So it clearly contributes to this whole practice project feeling. However, you can see that Mr. Pig's animation is better than before. I do extra frame of animations. So now when you jump, the start of the jump and the apex of the jumps are better animated. There are still problems in the animation, like Mr. Pig magically changes size during the animations because the sprites aren't perfectly to the same scale. Again, a very little problem that I wished I could solve in time, but just couldn't. Because as I said, I'm going to keep my promise. This will be the beta release, and I'm going to leave this project on the sidelines for at least 2 months. And then I might go back to it for the little improvements I'm talking about. They shouldn't actually take that long, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. But I want to keep my promise, and also I think I kinda need to change gears. I'm a bit tired of working on Mr. Pig and coping always with, as I said, the mistakes I have to cope with all the time because I started with a bad foundation. Sorry, I made a jump cut because I rumbled on completely useless things, and I also made a lot of mistakes on my English. And I just made one again. I'm a bit tired because I worked on the game all day before posting the video because I wanted to do the best thing possible on time. When I buy an item, I get a sound, a cash register sound that wasn't there before. But the poor Mr. Ball is still not animated at all. Again, something I had to cut to end the project today. So when it comes to making a debriefing of this project, you also see that the double jump is much better animated. Before, Mr. Pig wasn't rotating at all, which makes the ninja jump look weird. But now when you do a double jump, it's clearly a double jump, it looks much better. But yeah, if I make a debriefing of this project, I'm a bit disappointed that I couldn't do all the little things I hoped to do. Like there are still problems in the animations, little bugs, and some very small details are missing. So that's a bit disappointing, but it's also a success because, as I said before, this project taught me a lot of things and also a lot of mistakes to avoid. So on this side, it's mission accomplished. One thing that is also new and took me a lot of work this week is that a problem of the previous versions is that when you use an item or when you lost an item, there was very little feedback and you didn't realize that you lost your item. But now, when you lose your items, it's very obvious. For instance, I'm going to get it on purpose by this electroflower and see what happened. So with an animation like that, it's obvious that my shield triggered and that I no longer have it. And it's the same if I use my double jump token, I only have 1 charge left. This happens. So you see, it's very obvious now that my items are consumed and that I no longer have them. Because in the past, it was sometimes hard to realize when you run out of an item. And also, when you use the super drugs, the super vitamins, I decided to call it the super vitamins in the game. I still call it the super drug out of habit sometimes. But now its name is the super vitamins. If you use the super vitamins, it's also much better than before. So I'm going to make a jump cut to a moment where I am ready to use the super vitamins. I'm going to show you how it is now. Okay, so here we are is the snow world, and as you can see on the top of the screen, I own now a bunch of vitamin pills, and when I push the button, I'm going to use them. And you see now that when I'm under the effect of the vitamins, I have a special shader that makes my player blink with in color, and also my body emits those particles of electricity. So it's very obvious that I'm under the effects of the pill. And when the effect of the pills will end, I'm also going to see it because the effects will end. Also, you might not be able to hear it very well, but the music changes. It becomes the French cancan. The French cancan. So yeah, I guess it's a wink to my nationality and my terrible accent that I put the French cancan in there as the invisibility music. It's actually Super Mario Land that gave me this idea. You know, in Super Mario Land, the French cancan was the invincibility music, and because it's a royalty-free music, I thought, oh yeah, why not do that? So I use a French cancan which I slightly remixed to add as the music for invincibility. But yeah, as you can see, the big change this week is cosmetic improvement and feedback improvement on the uses of the item. Now it's really obvious when you use the items. I'm going to commit suicide on the next enemy so I can show you a few more things in the menus. For instance, I also playtested all the achievements. I am sure you can get all the achievements. And I also made sure that the bonuses that you unlocked through achievements all work. So my shield here triggered, so I'm not going to die this time. I'm going to die on the next one. And you will see when I die also that the animation is improved. Now when I die like that way, Mr. Pig falls to the bottom of the screen, and also there were smoke particles because I died through burning. And there are also improvements to the death animation when you are electrified and when you run out of stamina. Of course, those animations are still pretty basic. I wish I had time to draw more animations, but I was really mostly busy with doing code for this project. In fact, I'm a bit rusty when it comes to art. It's been a while since I drew something, but yeah, because when you do games, in the end, a lot of the work is doing code, and because I'm completely alone, I'm a one-man team because I don't have money. Well, I have to do everything, and because of that, I have to do all this coding. But you can see on the achievement screen, I managed to get all the achievements in the proper circumstance. I didn't cheat to get them, except the last one. But I'm sure it should work because the data that it records your total calorie loss in all your games. I could clearly see it increase after I programmed the feature, but because I programmed the feature late. I had made all those games that counted for nothing, and because you have to lose 500,000 calories to get this achievement, well, I didn't want to redo all those games because, as I said, I didn't have that much time to playtest, and that's one of the reasons I think it's safer to call these games that I'm going to release a beta, because I think it would simply be untrue to call this a full release. For instance, here I caught a very little bug. This button should become red right now, but it's not red, so there is still, again, a minor problem here. But it's not a big problem. But there are a few of those little problems that, as a perfectionist who likes to run down the bugs and make the best thing I can, when I see mistakes like that, I'm annoyed beyond belief. So because of that, I'm not going to call that a release game, a 1.0. I'm going to call that a beta. But despite that, despite my perfectionism and me being annoyed by those very small mistakes that are left in the game, I also want to keep my promise, and I'll also think that it's time for me to start working on what matters. It's I guess I'm going to ramble a little bit on that, to rant a little bit on that, but it's probably a problem of mine that I had all my life, and that in fact a lot of artists on social media, on DeviantArt have. It's oh yeah, I have this project and those characters that really matter to me, but because I lack experience, I don't do them. And when you think that way, you actually never work on your characters because you never experience enough. You always get better, you always learn new things. So if you think that way, you never work on what really matters. And I'm a bit tired of, I think I should exit that logic and start working on what matters. And what matters, is Serena and is Victory Bell, is my card game project with my friend. Those things are much more important than Mr. Pig. And that's why, even though the game has all those little problems, I'm going to keep my word, release it today as a beta, let you guys have some fun with it, and maybe in a few months, when I have more feedback and if I can find some time, some downtime in other projects, because there might be downtimes on some things sometimes, like I'm waiting for something from a friend. That's in particular true for the card game idea. For Victory Bell, I shouldn't be waiting on anyone because I'm completely solo. But because I'm a perfectionist and also want to learn from the bugs and the mistakes that are left in the game, I think it's pretty likely I'm going to debug it someday. But not right now, because right now I think it's time to use the knowledge I have gained from my mistakes to start something more important. Because the mistakes that cripple Mr. Pig right now, I know now how to fix them and how not to make them again. It's just that, I ran out of time. It's as simple as that. So anyways, I still think that it's very possible to have fun with the game. So despite all, I'm a bit, I tend to have a negative personality, to focus on what's wrong, on the problems, on the bug, because I'm a dumb perfectionist and maniac, and I maybe have some kind of trauma. But that's a work for my psychotherapist. But anyway, the game can be played. It is fun to play, despite the little problems, and I still encourage you to get it, to play it, and to give me your thoughts. Did you have fun? Did you like it? Did you run into any bugs? I'm interested in all of that. Even if you think the game is a complete piece of shit, I'm interested to hear it, as long as it's a little bit argumented. Like, if you tell me, oh yes, this game is a piece of shit because there are so many bugs, I can't play a game properly. Or, oh yeah, this game is a piece of shit because it lags on my PC. Well, I'm interested to hear that, because I could only test the game on my own machine, and there might be issues that pop up on other machines, ones that are less powerful, or maybe even on ones that are more powerful. I don't know. So it's a problem when you work in a completely amateurish way like I do. You're not a professional, you're not a team, you don't have a budget. Well, you have to make do with only one PC, and with only very limited time and resources. But if you want to help, I will gladly take any help you can give. And I will gladly take any feedback you can give, even if the feedback is the game is bad. As long, as I said, as is argumented. It's the same actually if you say that the game is fun. If you tell me that the game is fun, well, I would like to hear why. Because the feedback is the key. Great people in technology and even in design, like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, will tell you this all the time. Feedback is the key. So I really hope you will try the game and give me some of this delicious feedback. Even if it's just 1 or 2 sentences, it helps a lot. And now I'm going to start working on Victory Bell and the card game project with my friend. I'm going to juggle 2 things. So this might be the updates in the coming weeks might be a little bit weird, because I'm going, of course, to keep making videos and reports on my projects, and also to share the assets that I can share for the bonus content by patrons, the $5 patrons. But because I will have to juggle 2 projects for a while, the updates might be a little weird. But of course, I'm still going to make, regular reports on what's going on and share everything that can be shared, so that the Patreon justifies its existence, and also that you get your money's worth as much as possible. Of course, there's always going to be Serena, because Serena, I just translated. The pages were done quite a few years ago. I'm just translating it right now. Eventually, I'm going to reach the end of the pages I do a few years ago, and then I'll have to think what I'm going to do. But it's always the same thing. Right now, I'm trying to do something more impressive, so I can attract more patrons, more people towards my work. And when I get more patrons, this will allow me to have more time and more resources. And more time and resources mean better things, which mean more patrons. It's a cycle everyone on Patreon or even online hopes to start. Hopes to kickstart, to engage. I'm not there yet, and I'm kind of hoping that doing Unity game will attract more attention than doing a comic. I'm not doing that only, of course, for marketing. I'm also doing that because I'm interested in doing mini Unity games. But yeah, that's the plan. This will be, a little bit chaotic. That what you will see in the update videos might be a little bit weird. That it might be a little bit of Project A or a little bit of Project B. But I promise there's still going to be regular updates on what I'm doing, because I will be able to keep working on Unity. It's just that the first weeks, the updates will likely not be very interesting. Because when I started making videos on Mr. Pig, I actually had been working on Mr. Pig behind the scenes for months. Of course, it was months at a very, very slow pace. The last month had been a month at a quick pace, like what I'm doing since Christmas. I'm working on this since a month, but at a quick pace. I'm working 4 hours a day on Mr. Pig, roughly. But before, I was working 1 hour or 2 hours per week on Mr. Pig, and I did that for a year. So that's barely worth a week or 2 weeks. I would say that was worth 2 weeks of work at a quick reason what I did before. But yeah, what I mean is that when I started posting videos and content on Mr. Pig, I wasn't at 0%. And now when I'm going to post videos on the project I will start, I'm going to be at 0%. So the first videos will most likely show a bunch of rectangles eating each other. Or if you see the prototype of Victory Bell, where you're going to see a laser shooting lasers, or a rectangle punching another rectangle, that kind of thing. That's the kind of things that we do at the start of a game development. We do something that looks very ugly but tests the functionality and the code before adding the graphics. So yeah, sorry, I tend to repeat myself and say useless things even more than usual. It's because I am a bit tired. I have been working on Mr. Pig for 6 hours since this morning, and so yeah, I'm going to end this video here. And I really hope you're going to download the game and give it a shot. Despite its problems, and despite it being more worthy of the title beta than the title complete game. But still, it's a nice little time waster, and it's definitely possible to have some fun with it. And even though there are bugs, they seem pretty minor. It's pretty rare to see the whole game implode in your face, and that you can no longer do anything. It didn't happen to me in all my testing, so that's a pretty good sign. But anyways, thanks again for listening to me, my horrible accent, and my tendency to repeat myself. That's going to be all for Mr. Pig for quite a while. Until further notice, I'm not working on this game anymore, and I'm going to do other things. And other things that hopefully will be more interesting, because I'm pretty aware that the videos on Mr. Pig weren't watched by many people at all. So, but I kind of understand. It's not anime. It's not pretty girls. It's not superheroes. It's just a dumping doing a diet, and it doesn't look like what I do most of the time. So yeah, I get it. I completely get it if you're not interested in Mr. Pig. And that's why I want to keep my promise and stop working on this project for now. So anyways, that's all for this time, for good this time. I'm not going to say that and keep saying things like I did before, sorry. So thank you for listening, and see you around on my Patreon, and thank you for your time. And please try the game. Thank you. Goodbye. Or should I say, to keep it with a joke that I do every time. Au revoir. That's filthy French for goodbye.